The Bronx, 1935. Something big was happening. Something illegal. Something that reached every corner of New York City. Frankie Malone could feel it. And he was pretty sure it involved pretzels. He was known on the streets as Dutch Schultz, the Bronx Bear Baron. By 1935, he controlled bootleg liquor, the numbers racket, and had half the city on his payroll. He was violent, unpredictable, and absolutely terrifying. The tip came in on a Tuesday. Someone in the Bronx was moving product through 17 different locations. Cash only, no receipts. Frankie pinned every location to his map. They all had one thing in common. They were all within 4 blocks of a pretzel cart. Case closed. Almost. While Frankie was studying baked goods, Dutch Schultz was building an empire. After Prohibition ended in 1933, Schultz pivoted to the numbers racket, illegal lottery operations that pulled in millions from New York's poorest neighborhoods. He was ruthless, brilliant, and utterly without mercy. Frankie had his suspect, a Mr. Giuseppe on the corner of 149th and 3rd Avenue. Sold pretzels every day, rain or shine. Always had cash, never made eye contact, extremely suspicious. Frankie put him under surveillance for 11 days. He was innocent. He was just a pretzel guy. But Frankie wasn't ready to rule him out. Dutch Schultz had a problem that had nothing to do with pretzels. U.S. Attorney Thomas Dewey was building a tax evasion case against him. Schultz wanted Dewey killed. The other mob bosses, Luciano, Lancey, Costello, said absolutely not. Killing a federal prosecutor would bring the entire government down on all of them. Dutch wouldn't listen. On day 12, Frankie tripped over a briefcase. Inside was $40,000 in cash and a note with what appeared to be numbers racket ledger entries. Frankie assumed it was a very complicated pretzel order. Frankie turned it into the FBI anyway because it was heavy and he knew he needed both hands for lunch. On October 23, 1935, the mob made their decision. Dutch Schultz and 3 of his associates were shot at the Palace Chop House in Newark, New Jersey. Schultz lingered for nearly 24 hours, delirious and rambling incoherently about things no one could make sense of. He died, never knowing that the mob he'd helped build had ordered his execution. Frankie had staked out the Palace Pretzel House on Newark Avenue, completely different building. By the time Frankie realized his error, the whole thing was over, and there were 11 police cars 2 blocks away. Frankie walked over. Someone said Dutch had been shot. Frankie nodded slowly, like he knew that was going to happen. Frankie did not know that was going to happen. As for the briefcase Frankie had turned in, it turned out to be a critical piece of evidence. The ledger entries matched Dutch Schultz's numbers operation exactly. The FBI used it to dismantle what remained of his organization in the weeks that followed. It was, legitimately, a breakthrough in the case. The papers called it a mob hit. I let them have that. The real story, the briefcase, the 11 days of surveillance, the pretzel angle, that was Frankie. Giuseppe the vendor was cleared of all suspicion. Frankie sent him a formal letter of apology. He did not respond. Frankie assumed he was grateful. Dutch Schultz was gone. The Bronx was a little quieter. And somewhere in New York City, the next case was already waiting. Frankie had a feeling it involved laundry, the illegal kind. Or possibly just laundry. Either way, Frankie Malone was on it. Case closed.